All right, so I promised you guys I would do a quick review on the reissued 67 Flying V Gibson that I did. So quick backstory, this goes back like 2 years almost. I was deployed and my wife had a friend who had given her a few guitars for myself. So one of those was a 67 Flying V Gibson. However, it was very, very abused, almost looked like the guitar was used as a seat on asphalt. So there was quite some bit of work in the body. There was also some damage to the necks that someone tried to repair, didn't know what they were doing. So that guitar sat until I came back home. And then once I got back home, it was going to be my first guitar that I was going to be redoing. So refinishing, doing the fretworks, all that fun stuff. Because of that, I wound up going down the rabbit hole of what I wanted to do as far as varnishes or lacquer or finishes, all that fun stuff. All right, guys, so here is the video of the quick discussion and kind of show and tell of my 67 reissued Gibson Flying V. So quick backstory, go back about almost 2 years now. I was deployed. My wife had a friend who had given her a few guitars, one of which was the Gibson. The guitars were used in like a community area, so they were badly abused. The neck was damaged, the body was deeply damaged. Nothing too horrible, but it needed to be fixed. So I came back home and went down the rabbit hole of what I wanted to do. So with it being my very first guitar that I was going to refinish, there's a lot of what if questions. All right, guys, so here it is, the Gibson Flying V. I had never owned a Gibson until now, mainly because they're so expensive. But if you can wind up getting your hands on one to refab or purchase on a really good price, definitely do so. This guitar, like I said, was in a community use, so it was badly beaten up. There was a couple things that I got lucked out on. So the electronics, the pickup, the wiring, everything about the pots, all that stuff, that is still Gibson spec, thank God. So no one ever messed with that, but they did try to do some fundamental basic guitar stuff on here and really foobarred it. So the body, all around the body, the corners, the edges, all that fun stuff was beat severely. There's dents, gouges. So I wound up sanding this whole body down to 32 of an inch just to get it nice and sleek, so to speak. The fretboard had a bit of a work. Luckily, it wasn't too crazy where the frets were damaged or I had to refret anything. The crowning was still great, but someone tried to redo the guitar nut. And in doing so, they took a flathead screwdriver and gouged out a good inch out of the board to hit it out. So to remedy that, the only way to do it is either to get the fretboard type of material and dust through like StuMac, or you do what you got to do. So I took, when I had the pick guard off refinishing this body, I took a file and sanded down the bottom of this fretboard. Took all that dust and some super glue and filled the hole, and you really can't see it now. Refinished the nut with a Graphite Tech nut, so got that all finished away. The hardware, I didn't really change out anything. I wanted to keep this like a really cheap project. The headstock though, so whoever had it at one point in time broke the headstock. When I took off the truss rod cavity, they had filled it with Gorilla Glue, and when they re-pieced the back, there was this gnarly crack that you could see along the headstock, which for somehow the headstock cracks and Gibsons are kind of like synonymous. So I wound up taking some more material off the back to make sure that it made it and glued up well, which it did. But had it not been for the Gibson type of truss rod that they have in the nut, I'm not sure I could have salvaged the truss rod because of how much was in there. And when you guys see the pictures and later in this video, you'll see what I'm talking about. So I just took a Dremel, cleaned all that crap out, and luckily it all came out. So at one point in time, whoever had this guitar, the headstock was getting delaminated. Gibson uses a micarta on the top. It's a pretty thick layer, but once it starts peeling away, it's pretty noticeable. And I'm not sure how they did it on this guitar, but it was pretty bad. So I was gonna sand it down. I got to a point where you can start seeing, it almost looks like a denim jeans kind of look. I was going to change it out, but I wanted to keep this project as low as possible. I didn't want to damage the headstock any further. So what I wound up doing is just sanding that sucker down with oil and some true oil, all the way down to about 5,000 grit. And now it's super mirrored, almost like a gloss on top. And it has this really cool kind of look to it, like I said, like a denim look to it. So it didn't bother me at all. Refinished that again. The neck, I want to just refinishing as far as making sure the fretboard's clean, oiled it. I didn't have to touch the crowning on the frets a lot, so that was nice. The back of the guitar, luckily didn't have a whole lot of damage to it. And at one point, I really wanted to move this, the jack over to where Jackson has it, which is out of the way. But for sake of keeping this project simple, I just went with what they had initially. As far as the Gibson pickups, it plays real well. They're very touchy. Super high output as Gibson pickups are known to be, but it plays like a dream, and it's very nice and level, and it's very even to play. The body, even though it's mahogany, it's super light compared to my LPs that I have. But as far as like a quick project to refinish, like I said, I was teetering back and forth between lacquer and doing staining. What I wound up doing was getting a mahogany red stain. It took about a solid 15 coats on the body, a solid 10 coats on the back of the neck, and at least 12 coats on the headstock. And the reason for that is once I was wiping the stain on, it just seemed to come off every time I'd wipe it. So I'd have to do one pass, let it dry, one pass, let it dry, sand it back down, and so on and so forth. This was the second guitar that I actually used true oil on. As far as the true oil coats, you can get up there. You can get up to about 50-ish. I think the back of the neck took about 20, and I got a nice even smooth feel to it. The body, I didn't want to cover the grain, so I went back and forth on using grain filler, but when I got this guitar, it had a real natural look to it, and I really liked it, so I wanted to keep it that way. So what I wound up doing on the true oil on this is I wound up doing about 15 to 18 coats on the body, and then the headstock, a little bit different. The micarta, I did about 8, and it was just enough to get a couple coats, sanded down, and then recoat it back up. But overall, once it sat and it dried for about a week, just to let all the layers kind of solidify, it is a pretty solid guitar. So I'm super happy with this guitar. I believe I'm having a guitar cover coming up here soon, featuring this guitar, so you guys can hear what it's like, just like I did with the Strattenberg on a Alice in Chains guitar cover. So as far as build goes, the next guitar that I'm looking at building is going to be a Explorer type body, and I'm looking at doing something pretty unique with it. So I am still looking at ideas and parts and what I want to do, but I'm going to go ahead and switch over to pictures and let you guys see what I did. And if you have any questions, leave them below and I'll get back with you. See you guys.